All right, everybody. It is Monday, March 6th. Championship Monday.
Woo!
Queens of the conference, Virginia Tech, hot off of a big victory yesterday in the ACC Championship in Greensboro over the Cardinals of Louisville. And we're excited. We got Billy Ray Mitchell popping in from Fairfax, Virginia. We got Ed Williams from the Hoops Pod popping in from the same household in Fairfax. This is Pat Finn coming at you guys from Park City, Utah, enjoying the wonderful powder. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the powder grin. Powder grins snowed 20 inches on Saturday night, made for an epic Sunday powder day. But let's jump in. We're going to start with the Hokie Haiku. Before we do that, Ed and Mike McDaniel are going to be on the back half of this pod breaking down the Hokie hoops. So stick around for that. Here is the Hokie Haiku. It's been a minute since we've gone over the poetry. Which one was better? The new trophy in Honhurst or Georgia's glasses?
Are you asking? Is this up for debate?
I am asking.
I don't know. The glasses were pretty epic. I got to say, all of the content that came out following the game. I got beef with ESPN. We win an ACC championship. They show like 3 balloons, and it's on to the other game. No celebration, no post-game interviews. I don't know if we had to tune into the Ocho or go to ESPN3 or what you had to do.
The Manning cast.
Yeah, the Manning cast. So I do appreciate Hokie's WBB hooking it up with all of the post-game content, all the post-game feels. That was awesome. The crowd was awesome. Shout out Morgan Gay. She and a bunch of students made the drive. She sent a video right after the national anthem, and Kelly Gramlich tweeted it. She said it's 75% Hokies here in Greensboro. If you go ahead and you Google Maps it or MapQuest it, NC State way closer to Greensboro than Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech showed out both in the stands and on the field of play, which you love to see.
Hey, Ed, you want to tell Billy that we didn't beat NC State? We beat Louisville yesterday.
Sorry, that's right.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but then I saw Pat's grin that he was absolutely going to say that.
I got my. I'm sorry, we've beaten so many good teams in so few days. I got him. I got him mixed up. Yeah, this is a good time to say it while we're talking about it. Look, I have no problem with any of these athletes. I think they're all great. They're good for the ACC. But you look at the teams we played, okay?
This is a ludicrous conversation, but I'm here for it.
You look at the teams we played, right? First game, Cavender twins. TikTok famous, 4.1 million followers. 4.1 million followers. Game 2, we played Duke. Kara Lawson, she was an assistant on the Celtics. It's Duke. They're like the sweethearts of the year. Everyone thought they would suck. They don't suck. They're very good. Beat them. Then in the final, we play Haley Van Lith. Instagram famous. She has 700,000 followers on Instagram. What do we have? We don't got the TikTok fame. We don't have the Instagram fame. We have the hardware fame. And Liz and Georgia walk away. Women's basketball walks away with the hardware as ACC champions for the first time in program history. So fun. Pat, how did you it's unfathomable. It is unfathomable, just like it was a year ago.
I mean, I know you were just talking about the content. There's nothing like the content.
No.
There's nothing like it. You know, you're scrolling at Hokie's WBB. You're scrolling at Hokie Sports on Twitter, on Instagram. The memes are flowing. You got Georgia rocking the sunglasses. You got all of the girls taking pictures with the trophy. You got T-Soul jumping around with that champion sign. And then you got Coach Brooks making everyone cry. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was shades of last year, you know, different kind of confetti. We had the I guess, ACC themed, Greensboro
Mhm.
themed balloons. The magenta, the teal green, the white/silver balloons falling from the sky. But it was also a constant. Smiles all over the Hokies' faces. And yeah, man, I mean, just an incredible experience to see these girls absolutely crush it. Georgia, 14. Was it 14 or 16?
So we'll do the. I feel like we're going to talk about the content a lot more than the game. So I'll just give the quick rundown. Virginia Tech beat Miami 68-42, beat Duke 58-37, beat Louisville 75-67. They move into the top 4. Looks like they're going to get a top 1 seed. Just to highlight some of the stuff that happened. I mean, Liz Kitley dropped 22 points against Miami. Georgia Amore dropped 16. You go over to the Duke game. Georgia Amore had 24 points against Duke, 6 for 8 from the 3-point line, and then 25 points from Georgia Amore. And they beat Louisville 67-75. It was just, it was awesome. It was an awesome 3 days. She beat the 3-point record in ACC tournament play, and she played 2 less games than some other players. Unbelievable.
And even just comparing this to last year too, like they crushed everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And last year the men's team, other than us needing a miracle against Clemson, we crushed everyone.
Yeah.
And we had Hunter Couture last year. We had Georgia this year, and it's just so funny seeing them go back and forth on social media. Georgia's like, I watched film on you, Hunter Couture, and Hunter Couture's like, well, Georgia's literally the GOAT. And now both of them are ACC tournament championship MVPs. So it's pretty unique to see the dichotomy of the men's team last year paving the way for the women's team this year. And ultimately we're just, celebrating back-to-back years. It's pretty cool to bake this into March here lately.
Yeah, an awesome moment that I don't know how much content has been out about it. I've seen a couple of videos, but Kayla King coming off the bus in front of Han Hurst with the trophy over her head, followed by Taylor Soule with a giant boombox on her shoulder, blasting Enter Sandman. That looked like a pretty cool moment for all the fans who came out. They looked like it was like 9:15 by the time they got back to Blacksburg, but that looked like an awesome moment for the fans, and the team obviously really enjoyed it too. So that was awesome. Yeah, Pat, it was 14 threes for the tournament record. 2 banked threes as well. We will throw those in there for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Probably didn't mean to do that, but we'll take it nonetheless.
A couple of other things. I just want to point out some of my other favorite content. My favorite content that came out this whole week, I think was a little bit, or this whole last 24-hour cycle, is a little bit underrated, and it's on Taylor Soule's Instagram. And it's the last picture on her post, and it's a journal entry from October. Have you seen this, Pat? This might be breaking news. Okay. October 22nd at night. This is in her diary. I am so grateful for my teammates at Virginia Tech. The first scrimmage went well, and I'm eager to see what the season has in store. In quotes, ACC Championship. I manifest good health, fun, positivity, continued blessings while I walk with love, patience, trust, faith, honesty, and a kind heart. It's cut off a little bit, but I think it says, I am grateful for another day to be loved, supported, alive. Happy to be here. So blessed. I love this basketball team. I love the personalities on it. I love the way that they embrace. The fan base has not only embraced them, they have embraced the fan base. Going to as many games. I'm the first person to say, I went to more women's basketball games this year at Castle Coliseum than I had ever been to in my entire tenure at Virginia Tech. And after every single game, every player thanks everybody. Taylor Soule high fives the high techs that are there. She shakes everybody's hand. She thanks everybody, goes into the stands, hugging people. Like, it was just such a fun team to follow, and they're not done. I do encourage you all to go out to Castle for the first 2 games. Ed, I know you're definitely going to be there. The excitement around this program, Coach Brooks's vision. I mean, Pat, we interviewed Coach. Back in the day, we interviewed like Sammy Hill years ago, and she raved about the culture that he brought into Blacksburg. Watching former players tweeting about it and living in the moment. Asia Shepherd, Taj Cole, Sammy Hill again. She tweeted about it. It is such an amazing thing, but it is a testament to the work and the foundation and the culture that this coaching staff has instilled. Just going off of some of the other content that I absolutely loved. By the way, go get your poster. I got to shout out Mina Schubert, one of our incredible designers. She put out a poster. Check that out. But no, the glasses, Kayla King. I'll say this. Women's basketball gets away with some stuff that men's basketball would never get away with. First of all, I don't know if they do this in the ACC tournament, but both teams go up the same corridor and teams are like celebrating in the same hallway that the losing team has to walk through. Just creating some savage content. And then at the end of the ACC tournament, one of the reporters straight up just asks Georgia Amore, "Can anyone guard you?" They would never, ever ask that to anyone in the ACC men's basketball. I loved it. And then Kayla King grabs the mic after everybody behind her standing no. She says, "No one can guard her." We all agree. You're right. Coach Brooks talking about his family, sacrifice, everything else. Man, I could not be happier for this group. And go ahead. Pat's got his hand raised.
Well, we got a few more. Yeah, we got a few more. I feel like the list just keeps going and going and going. And obviously, everyone deserves a shout out. Evan Hughes. I mean,
two ACC championship basketball teams called by his mouth.
Evan Hughes has done a great job all year long. He told us from the very beginning, believe in this team. Mm-hmm. And we said, Evan, we believe in you. And phenomenal screen grab of Evan holding the trophy. Stephen Collier, saw him greeting the team outside of Castle, outside of Honhurst. Kelly Gramlich bet on this team early.
She knew.
She put out the bracket right before the ACC tournament started. But the list does go on and on and on here.
Special team, special moment. Again, excited to see what's coming down the pipe later on. I want to have a real conversation here. And this may trigger some folks. It shouldn't. But Mount Rushmore for Virginia Tech, when you talk about most decorated athletes or when you talk about athletics in general. Okay, so who's on there? Michael Vick's on there. Angela Tincher is on this list as well. Coach Beamer is on this list. Makai Lewis has a chance to be on this list. The other, from 3 to 5.
Bruce Smith is on this list.
Bruce Smith is on the list. You're right.
Tyrod Taylor is on the list.
I would almost argue Tyrod Taylor is a more decorated athlete during his collegiate career than Michael Vick is. We're talking about accomplishments at Virginia Tech. But the case for Liz Kitley to be etched onto the Mount Hokie more, let's just talk about it real quick. So far, she can come back next year. Who knows what she's going to do? She is the 2-time ACC Player of the Year, ACC Freshman of the Year, 3-time first-team All-ACC. She's an All-American. In program history, she is the all-time leader in points, field goals, 30-point games, 40-point games, field goal percentage. She is one block away from being tied to be the all-time leading blocks getter. She has an 83-33 record, 3 trips to the NCAA tournament, highest-ranked team of all time, potentially the best team of all time. I think, regardless of what happens, she's certainly a top 10 Virginia Tech athlete of all time. I find it very hard to believe that she is not in the top 5. Ed, I know you have strong feelings on this.
I don't even think it's a question. I mean, what she's done in terms of elevating a program, putting it on the map, that stuff's all great. But then it just straight up accomplishments too. Everything you just said, I don't even think it's a question. And I just spent the last 10 minutes scrolling through the Virginia Tech women's basketball record books, looking for a different argument we're going to have in a second. But Liz is at the top of every list. Like if you go on their page, it's hysterical because the players who are currently active are highlighted in highlighter color. And if you scroll through the page, it's Liz Kitley, Georgia Amore, Kayla King, Kayana Traylor's on some of these lists. But Liz is a top 10 player in pretty much every counting stat you can find in program history, not to mention the national accolades that you already talked about. So I don't even think it's a question. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find 4 or 5 better people than her.
Without a doubt. It's an interesting question. But I definitely think she has a chance to cement herself as being that. And again, she has the opportunity to come back for another year. So a lot of those records, she's pretty close to the rebound record. I think she's like 170 away from the rebounding record. So she has a chance at a lot of this stuff. Ed, what is your follow-up take?
So I had this take I thought about this right before we press record. Is Georgia Amore the best point guard in school history across both sports? Everyone loves Justin Robinson. He's the man. There's a couple other names you could probably throw into there, but just really quick, in literally 5 minutes of research, I pulled that Georgia currently, as a true junior, has the best assist-to-turnover ratio in her career, which to me is a big stat as a point guard. The most ACC assists in program history, the only triple-double in program history, third in three-pointers made while being 7th in percentage. She's third in three-pointers made, shooting 37%. Third in assists. She could easily be second in assists in program history by the end of the year, depending on how long they go on this run. And fourth in assists average per game, 4.8. 7th in starts, 7th in minutes, 5th in points. And she's a true junior. So it's pretty conceivable, and then obviously it depends if Liz comes back or not. If Liz comes back, some of those records will be pretty untouchable. But if Liz decides that she's done in Blacksburg and done all she wanted to accomplish, and Georgia comes back and has a year without Liz racking up stats, Georgia's going to pass her in a lot of those categories: minutes, starts, games, consecutive games played. It's pretty insane how in some ways she's somewhat flown under the radar because she's playing with Liz Kitley, who's the 2-time ACC Player of the Year, but those record books are going to be pretty full by the end of her career. It's pretty crazy that she's a true junior and everything she's done. So it's a conversation.
It is. And it's also a testament, again, to, you were just saying it, there's so much highlighter. And if it's not highlighted, it's Taj Cole and it's Asia Shepherd. It just goes down to, one, how basketball has changed over the years, but also the quality of play that Coach Brooks plays with week in, week out, day in, day out, and year in, year out.
Yeah. In
go ahead.
General, like if Liz is done, the two of them will be 1-2 in pretty much every category in the record books, which is insane. I mean, try to think of other teams across all sports where the two best players in the history of that organization or program are on the team at the same time. It's pretty remarkable, and it's gotten us to where we are currently as ACC champs.
This hasn't been talked about on this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast and you've never heard of it, obviously, the Queens of Castle, please go check them out. But it has been such a pleasure getting to know them, working with them. And I got to say, when we started doing it, one, couldn't have picked better athletes to host a podcast in a calendar year. They've done an unbelievable job. It's been amazing. It's been so fun to watch. But as it was happening, especially early on, I was like, I don't really know how this will work out. If they lose a game and they record the next week, are people like, is this distracting? Is this something that they'll be able to balance? Their schedules are crazy, but it's never, ever, ever been an issue. And whether they're asked about this in post-game availability, whether we've asked them this, whether anyone asks them, it's how are you able to bet? They genuinely just like doing it. And it again speaks to the culture of how much they embrace the fan base. Like, it's been so fun to not only get to know them and get to learn their story, but also hear the podcast that they've done with their teammates, their coaches, people in the media. And they are such incredible. I say that this is a buzzword, but I mean it. They are such incredible ambassadors for Virginia Tech. And it's kind of hard. I don't think they kind of understand the impact that they're having on the school and the impact that they're having on the athletic department in real time. They might not even register that they won the ACC yesterday, but I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. And I also have to shout out the women's basketball culture. It's very much like wrestling, where they have this insane, like feverish following by people. No, it's been great. It's been absolutely awesome. And again, I encourage everybody to, after Selection Sunday or even now, get your tickets, go check them out in the first 2 rounds, and get ready for what has an opportunity to be a really, really, really special run in March. 11 in a row. Ranked wins. I think they have the 5th hardest schedule in the country, beating ranked teams. I think they beat 5 ranked teams in that stretch, and were able to leapfrog their way into that top 4 spot. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get into some of the other sports in our merry-go-round merryman segment. Moving on over to some other occurrences in the Merriman facility, what took Twitter by storm over the last 10-ish days. Quarterbacks coach Brad Glenn accepted the offensive coordinator job at Cincinnati, and Coach Rudolph accepted the offensive line job at Notre Dame. He got paid a whole lot of money. Can't blame him. Ed, what were your initial reactions with this news?
I think a lot of people were okay with Glenn, or not okay with. You never want to lose a coach, especially after 1 year. Continuity, I think, was something that Pry was really relying on when he put this staff together for a variety of reasons. If you look at who he hired and their track records, I think continuity was important to him. So yeah, losing your quarterbacks coach and your offensive line coach after year one's not super exciting. But from my perspective, I tried to take a step back and think about it. Okay, at the end of the year, if we were going to lose coaches for any reason, the quarterback room wasn't very good, and the offensive line room was probably worse than the quarterback room. So I tried to take it with a glass half full approach of, yes, Joe Rudolph's a highly sought after offensive line coach all across the country. That's why Notre Dame just paid him a boatload of money to go coach offensive line up there. Those 2 rooms weren't very good last year. So I would hope that whatever Coach Pry and the staff come up with as the solution for those coaches in those rooms is maybe an upgrade in some instances, but because quite frankly, I don't think there was a room in the building that performed worse than O-line. So he's a great coach and with a great track record, you can't get much worse than they looked last year. So hopefully they can use those funds to allocate them in a different way that is the most beneficial for all the rooms, not just one of them.
Let me say something that I haven't said in a long time. There were some idiots on the TL.
Why do you gotta be so aggressive?
Because you know why? Everybody else was being aggressive. My guy, Coach Rudolph, got paid almost millions of dollars to go somewhere else. Puts out a nice heartfelt letter talking about his time in Blacksburg, and everybody's pissed. Everybody's angry. You took the bag, bro. You left for the bag, bro. Yeah, he did. Who wouldn't? I don't understand why we're attacking the guy for making a decision. I will never understand people attacking recruits for making decisions for whatever reason they make the decision for. And I will never understand people attacking grown men or women for making their decision at taking a job. They don't owe you anything. They owe you zero. They are employed by Virginia Tech. Somebody else said, hey, I would like you to be employed by such and such school. They take the job. They don't owe you anything. He didn't even have to type you up a nice letter. He wrote you a nice letter, put a Virginia Tech header on it. So that stuff always drives me nuts. Please stop taking yourselves so seriously. There's no reason for all of this negative toxicity. He is a grown man. 1, you would not say this to his face. And 2, for all of you putting it out there, if you worked for Harry Smith's Plumbing and you were changing, nothing against plumbers. This is just an example. If you worked for Harry Smith's Plumbing and they were paying you $54 an hour, and then Joe Schmo's Plumbing was like, hey, we're going to pay you $75 an hour, you're probably going to be cleaning toilets for Joe Schmo's Plumbing. So save me all of your garbage, please. Here are my actual thoughts on the deal. Coach Glenn and Coach Rudolph, I very much viewed them as the Yodas of the coaching staff. And here's why I say that. We have a very young coaching staff that is gaining experience and learning things on the fly, which is great. Like, we just interviewed Coach Marv. He was fantastic. I thought that the reason we overpaid for somebody, I'll use Coach Rudolph as an example, is he's been around the block. He's done it before. He has a tremendous track record. So for me, I think it's crucially important that in these 2 roles, or at least in one of them, you get somebody who has a ton of experience in A, coaching the position, and B, being around programs that have been built and succeeded over a long period of time. I'm going to tie this back to something else. We look back at Coach Kill and the impact that he had at Virginia Tech in the 1 year that he was here. It's important to have somebody in a program who has been around the block. And Coach Rudolph, in my opinion, was that guy on the staff last year. He was probably not a guy who was going to be here for a long period of time. So for me, I think that that's very important. Pat, go ahead. What is kind of your reaction and your I guess wish list for what to bring in as a replacement?
Well, first of all, Coach Kill. Have you guys seen the trajectory of that guy? Now he's at New Mexico State. They won a conference championship. He got this massive tattoo on his bicep celebrating. Is it the Lobos or is it the Aggies? What New Mexico?
I think it's the Lobos.
I think it's the Lobos, and that tattoo is fire.
It is.
Coach Kill having a 3/4 life crisis there, getting a nice little getting some ink. Oh, I love it. That guy's awesome. My wish list. Let's see.
Not names. But
Okay.
like, what are you looking for out of the job? For me, it's experience. It's experience and pedigree.
I want a guy who's going to gel well with Coach Pry. I want a guy who's going to gel well with Coach Bowen. Are they going to line up schematically and have the same offensive philosophy for, ground and pound run game, protecting the quarterback? Like, I know we had been talking about like when is Coach Rudolph going to land a offensive line guy out of the portal here this offseason. And I don't know if that was coming, after spring or not. But like we need a serious upgrade in that room. I know our class coming in has some studs, but I think experience, pedigree, and the fact that there's going to be some serious alignment with what Coach Bowen wants. I know Coach Pry went on the TSL pod and talked about, what, kind of who would be making this decision. I know it's going to be between Coach Pry and Coach Tyler Bowen. So that's what I want. From a quarterback perspective, I mean, I guess the same thing. But to Ed's point, I don't think Brad Glenn was a quarterback whisperer, and I think we could do a lot better than 3-8. So anything in the quarterback room. I know Kieran Drones. I need the appropriate and correct pronunciation. Mm-hmm. If it's Kieran, anywho, he's won Hokie Warrior Athlete of the Week like 3 times in a row. Yeah. I mean, I'm ready for him to hoist the Heisman Trophy the first week of December next year.
You're drinking the same potion that I drink before record predictions, it seems like. I
mean, Hokie Warrior of the Week, man. That's no, good.
I'm fired up. I'm fired up. I'll say this. I have one more thing, and then I'll get off my angry box here. I'm just preparing everybody for what's going to happen because we do this every single time a job comes open, okay? Quarterback job is open at Virginia Tech. If we don't hire Michael Vick to be our quarterback coach, what are we doing? They need to pick up the phone right now and call Michael Vick.
Dude, if I go ahead and tweet at Coach Pry, did you see this? At Whit Babcock, you need to do this. I have something for you guys. Coach Pry and Whit Babcock, they're not listening to Hokie Joe 1599 on Twitter with the VT football helmet as profile picture.
Tight end position opens up. Brian Steinspring is somebody we should strongly consider bringing back. I have no problem with either of these names, but just to say, because you know a guy, I know a guy, that's who we have to hire. And if we don't hire them, we're inept and stupid and dumb. I promise you, and I'll make this thing again. If you're selling insurance, if you're selling cars, if you're slinging software, you're not putting as much thought into who can teach our offensive line to run zone right, zone left, power, ISO, whatever. Coach Pry, Coach Bowen, Mr. Babcock, they're all going to sit in a room. They're going to interview people. and they're going to find who the best fit is. So I'll just come out and say it. If the best fit for that position is Coach Washington, great. I can't wait for Coach Washington to coach our offensive lineup. If it's not Coach Washington, great. I'm fired up for who's going to be our coach of the offensive line. But everyone is going to melt down regardless of who it is. If we don't hire Michael Vick as our quarterback's coach and we don't hire Todd Washington, there's going to be a slew of people freaking out. I'm telling you, go downstairs, pour yourself a glass of whole milk, maybe throw on some Seinfeld and just take a couple deep breaths, maybe do some yoga. It's going to be okay. I trust our coaches to make the correct hire, and I'm going to allow it to play out. And that's that.
Wait, but can we hire Todd Grantham as our defensive coordinator?
You guys
know that he is available and he has Virginia Tech ties.
You guys have made the somewhat questionable decision of giving me a platform tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and use my time to shine here. I have been a Virginia Tech fan since 2015, which is a very small amount of time, especially when you compare it to Pat Finn and the Finn fam. I love the school as much as anyone. I've got the VT tatted on my thigh. I love the school, all right?
You and Jerry Kill, tattoo guys.
Jerry Kill.
Me and Jerry Kill. One thing I have always questioned and personally hated about our fan base is exactly what Billy's talking about. And I would like to pose a thought about the football program.
Pose it.
Do we really need to keep everything in-house? Can we go out and find some new and fresh ideas that may have not been taught in Blacksburg 15, 25 years ago? I think new and fresh ideas could be a great thing for the football program. So, yes, we don't need to hire Michael Vick as the quarterback's coach. And he wouldn't want the job anyway. So yes. I completely agree with everything you're saying. I have long thought that there has been some recycled ideas and thought processes in that building. I think Coach Pry's done a really good job of bringing in new ideas. And I think we should do more of that and less of what we did 20 years ago.
Less typing, more. Look, if you're a Virginia Tech fan in the New River Valley, go for a hike. Go fishing. Go camping. It is fake spring outside. There are plenty of fun activities to do rather than freak out about who we may or may not be interviewing for a coaching position. So I think we've beaten this point to death. But please, give it a rest. Give it a rest. Pat, we have some other updates from Virginia Tech. I don't know if alumni is the right word, but number one, I want to shout out Coach Hamilton. Got a job with the Tennessee Titans. And we have one more as well.
Coach Ryan Smith. I got to say, I do love football talk. Football talk is just, it's so funny how football talk, 12 months out of the year, people are getting fired up about everything. And yes. Never change college football fans.
For those on the audio only, Pat just jumped up in his seat to make the take about how much he loves football talk in March. His face is beaming right now.
Yep.
Shout out Ryan Smith, man. Coach Smitty, our guy from it's Fredericksburg 804. He's from Fredericksburg, isn't he? He's from that area. But anywho, Coach Smith went up to Northwestern, coached up the corners up there, did a really good job. And guess who was calling? The big three letters, NFL. Arizona Cardinals said, hey, Coach Smith, we'd love you to come coach our defensive backs in the professionals. And Coach Smith said, I'm in. So shout out to him. I know he loved his time at Virginia Tech. And keep an eye on that guy. Keep tabs on Coach Ryan Smith.
Is he buying Cliff Kingsbury's house? I know it's on the market.
I don't know. Probably not. I don't know.
All right.
Don't know why you think I would know that.
I'm so fired up for the next segment. I can't even introduce it. So Pat, why don't you go ahead and introduce it?
Speaking of Twitter getting fired up, I don't know who put out the original tweet. I bet we could find it in a hot second here.
Yeah, I've only sent it in every group chat like 15 times today.
All right. Take it easy.
I have. That wasn't a chirp at you. I'm just saying we've been looking at it a ton.
No, we have.
Dude, look at this picture of. Hold on a second.
Anthony Romano.
Hold on. Look at our guy Nels Williams at ACC Media Day with Hunter Couture interviewing Coach Young. Dude,
Coach
shout
Young.
out Nels, man. I'm fired up. That's awesome.
Dude, Hunter is ridiculous. I really hope he comes back.
Hunter goes up to Coach Young and says, Coach Young, what do you think of coaching that guy Hunter Couture? And Coach Young says, he's been a big pain in my ass ever since he got here. Okay, so Anthony Romano puts up an interview of Tim Sands, President Sands, after the victory on Sunday. And what does this mean for Virginia Tech? And President Sands says, we're a basketball school now. Kind of said, a little tongue-in-cheek, little jokingly, and then, went on and had a nice thing to say about the women's team and how they represented Virginia Tech so well. But I know it has been a little controversial. We've come up on this podcast dozens of times talking about basketball school, football school, whatever school. And I know Billy is probably more fired up than anyone.
No, I'll let Ed go first because I actually agree with what Ed's about to say. Like, because I want it to be prefaced by this because I agree. Ed, go ahead. I know what your point is. I agree with you. I want you to preface my comments with it. Go ahead.
Wait, what is my point?
Didn't you say like we've kind of been a basketball school for the last?
Oh, okay, that point. I didn't know which one. I mean, you've been arguing with me about this all day. All right. So my point on this is, again, goes back to my, I guess, lack of longevity as a Virginia Tech sports fan. But for me, and I think a lot of people like me, definitely the people who are a little bit younger than me, who are new to the Virginia Tech sports fandom, this has been a basketball school, especially since, 2015, 16, 17 on, just pretty elite levels of basketball being played in Castle Coliseum. And for the most part, that's where the highs have been in the athletic department. And from fans around the Virginia Tech community, the highs have come from basketball. So I think Tim Sands was, like Pat said, very tongue-in-cheek with this comment. He was obviously, he's standing on the court after the women's team just won an ACC championship, getting hit in the face with confetti. What's he supposed to say? Well, I'm really excited for, September. No, he's gonna lean into it. He's gonna say great things about the team that has confetti landing on his head for the second straight year. It has been a basketball school for the last, 7 years, 6 years.
We're not an anything school. We're a this school, we're a that school. So if somebody would started being a Virginia Tech fan in 2020, are we a baseball school? Are we a wrestling school? This is my problem.
Can
I finish?
Yes.
Can I finish? Here's my problem with it. One, he's not good at tongue-in-cheek. It just came off as weird and awkward. Didn't like it. That's my problem. My other problem with it is if I'm literally any other coach in the athletic department, I'm like, yo, why would you say that? I out of everything you possibly could have said in that clip, and look, I get it. It's just a clip. They put a camera in his face. They asked a question. I could have thought of a million other things to say. I personally did not like it.
It was unnecessary. I completely agree that it was unnecessary, but I do think it was a joke, however awkward it may have been.
Tim Sands, not good at jokes.
Tim Sands, not good at Let's Go Hokies.
Not good at jokes.
Definitely not good at Let's Go Hokies either. But it's a funny thing that all college athletic departments do and fan bases do, where it's, we're a basketball school, we're a football school. Everyone says it pretty much jokingly anyway. Not many people are saying, we're a baseball school.
We are a land grant engineering institution for higher learning. Is
my overarching message on this is it's a big fat nothing burger that doesn't matter and was funny in the moment.
It was not funny in the moment. Nothing was funny about it.
Pat?
I did not laugh. No,
we're not funny at all.
No, I thought it was cringy, but my thing is just, I don't know if it's necessary to stoke a narrative that, doesn't need stoking. But I understand it was tongue in cheek. It was meant.
And I'll say this too, like there's two parts of this. There's what the fan base thinks, there's what the other half of the fan base thinks, and then there's reality. And I want to mention this in it. We have surpassed the halfway mark for the Reach for Excellence campaign. Tim has done some great things for fundraising with the new commitment to football, which we have done. We've done some amazing things. But saying something like that just completely like blinds everybody from the stuff. And it's going to further the narrative that, well, Tim Sands doesn't care about football. Our administration doesn't care about football. Why don't we care more about football? And then guys like Pat, he doesn't think this, but guys like Pat who like football talk in April are going to get all riled up. And it just came off as a little unnecessary. Of all the content that I saw yesterday, that was my least favorite.
It was more than a little unnecessary. I completely agree with that.
Okay, that's it. We're all on the same page here. And that's not at all taken away from, because if I went first, Ed, you know what would have happened? It'd have been like me trying to plant my football flag. That's not it, man. I support every single sport that does amazing things. I would love for us to be an everything school. I love that our baseball team has been awesome and is on a trajectory to continue to be awesome. I was talking to Joey Sullivan about it this week. I love what we've done in softball. I love what we've done in wrestling. Our track team wins if anything, we're a track school because our track team wins ACCs, it seems like every 6 months. I don't even know what track season is, but it seems like we win the championship every 6 months. But yeah, that was my thoughts. Either way, not taking anything away from basketball or whatever. We're a Virginia land grant institution of higher learning. That is what we are. We're not
we are a pretty solid athletic department, top to bottom. Like you talked about.
We're not a football school either.
We're a sports school.
Yeah, I like that. I love that. Don't let UVA hear that, but I do like that.
I'm ready to move on from this.
Let's do it.
I am more than ready. I hate the basketball school, football school. Like, that conversation drives me up the wall. So
that was your get off my lawn quote of the week. It drives me up a wall.
My good friend Brendan Cafferkey knows what I'm trying to say. He would text me #basketball school after like every single win last season. But yeah, let's move on. It is a fun conversation. It is. I'm ready. Let's move on.
Okay.
I think we should tee this up for a podcast next week, but I want to tee it up.
Tee it up?
I thought it was an interesting tweet I saw today. Brendan Hill tweeted, "When we decide we want to be the preeminent brand in the ACC across sports, it will happen. No disrespect to the other institutions, but I don't see a better all-around brand in the league. That goes for our fans, donors, administrators too. Time to mash the gas and separate." I thought this was a great tweet. Now, B. Hill, I don't know mash the gas. Have you guys ever heard mash the gas? I liked it though.
I don't know if you meant mash the glass, like mash the glass ceiling. It's definitely some.
The only thing I'm mashing is some potatoes. But I really like finishing that basketball school conversation and segueing that into this, because this kind of ties a bow around the gift of Virginia Tech being good at a lot of different sports and having a great brand and having a great fan base and support. Now, comparable to the ACC, I would love to have a discussion next week where we kind of see, hey, who is the best brand in the ACC? And I wonder what that criteria would look like. And I know a Bryce Chalkley would love to come on and debate that and have that conversation. So we're going to tee that up.
I know Ali listened to this. What I love about Bryce is I called him just to check in, and he said, "Hey, we should talk about this on the podcast next week, but I don't want to give it away." He then proceeded to give me his 10 or 15 minute take on the subject. Bryce Chalkley, the king of expanding on you can't just read the back of the book. You're going to get the first 5 chapters, but that's why we love him. So we're going to bring him on next week, and we will talk about that subject. Looking at the diamond, Ed, catch us up on what's going on with baseball and softball.
A whole lot of Chris Cannizzaro on the baseball front. Virginia Tech swept Charlotte this weekend. It's a pretty good Charlotte team and good program, so it was good to see the Hokies take their business at home. Oh, here we go. Here we go with the Charlotte talk. But it was, like I said, it was a whole lot of Chris Cannizzaro, ACC Player of the Week. He's currently 5th in the country in batting average at .540, and he is 19 of his last 26 plate appearances. He has recorded a hit. So
Man.
last week,
Ed.
or the Charlotte series alone, he hit 7 balls over 100 miles an hour. Guy is seeing it, as they say. It's coming in like a beach ball, and he's turning it around at over 100 miles an hour 7 times. So that guy's just absolutely raking right now. Pitching staff did a really good job of containing the Charlotte offense, and they were able to win 3 straight games at home.
Those 19 for 26 at the dish. It's like Georgia shooting a 3, man.
It's a great comp.
No bank in baseball, though. We haven't done the pylons in a while. And I'm going to be honest, I was really passionate about this topic. As you know, my health journey, you may not know, actually, so I'll brag about it. Down under 260 for the first time in a while. I had salad for dinner today, and I had salad for lunch. Did mix in a Campbell's Chunky Soup in between. But I was like, you know what? Instead of eating crap, let's just talk about it. So the pylons for this week are trash foods. So basically, whether you're driving on a long drive and you have to stop and you have to eat, or you've just accepted, hey, I'm going to eat something crappy that's mass produced. I don't really care what's in it. That's what we're doing. And we're kicking it off with Ed Williams.
Yeah, the first one is pretty simple. Raising Cane's, all about Raising Cane's. There's one in Charlottesville that I frequent on my way down to Smith Mountain Lake. And now there is one in Northern Virginia. So Raising Cane's and kind of just chicken tenders and fries in general are my absolute one seed.
Can I give you a fun fact about Billy Ray?
Never had
Never had it, I'm guessing.
Never had it.
Brutal.
Never had it.
We'll
Need to change it.
We'll change that.
Patrick.
You know, for me, it's road trips. Always got to stop for a water. This doesn't count as junk food, but like I can't do a road trip or I can't do a flight without getting a big water. You know, like you don't ever want to be on a plane and like you're like, I'm so thirsty, right? You need to have a nice Dasani. I am always stopping for a quarter pounder with cheese. Always. Quarter pounder with McDonald's.
If you know Billy Ray, you know my first round pick. And it is when I'm driving, I love having it my way. And the way that I have it is from Burger King. I don't know if there is a better sandwich from a fast food establishment than a double Whopper, no cheese. And that is my absolute take.
It's one of your worst takes ever.
It is my take. It is my take, and I love a double Whopper from Burger King. So that is my no, dude. You ever next time you go to a fast food place, I want you to take the bun off and I want you to look at the cheese that's on it, and I want you to tell me what you think about that. Just look at the cheese. Just look at the cheese. The burger is piping hot. It's not melting. It's just kind of there. I don't like it.
Yeah,
something about it. I know I don't like anything that's in it. I know it's all bad, but if I take the cheese off, that's like kind of dieting. So I take.
I have to add to this before Billy gives the second one. There was a recent trip back from Blacksburg, Virginia, where Billy decided that he was singing the Whopper song enough times that he drove me to insanity to take him to Burger King on the way home up 81. So absolutely not on my list was Burger King, but I knew that was coming because he sang the song about 15 times on I-81 coming north.
That's right.
Wow.
Snake draft. So I go again. I got to tell you, there are a few things in this world better than a Dr. Pepper, especially when you haven't had one in a long time. I love Dr. Pepper, a god tier soda. So Dr. Pepper.
All right. I'm going to jump in here with a cookout tray. Usually get either a burger or a spicy chicken, and then I always get either 2 ranch wraps or a ranch wrap and a bacon wrap. And flip a coin, I'll get a Cheerwine float. The other, if it lands on tails, I'm getting water. Ed,
Pat, you're like not fired up about this. Do you not love eating crappy food?
I mean, I do, but like, you know,
he would much rather have Roots Natural Kitchen.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Rather stop. Yeah, we would usually fill up on Roots on our way out of town. We don't need any food because we're full.
That's
Yeah,
true. Well,
I'll
you living in the sprawling metropolis of Charlotte, we have a little bit of a longer trip. So about halfway back to the facts, it's time for a second stop. Ed,
yeah,
go ahead.
absolutely. I'll finish off the triple crown of fast food restaurants. You two hit the big ones, and I'll add the third. Wendy's is elite.
Yeah, I love
Wendy's is
Wendy's.
my favorite of the three, but
I love Wendy's.
I'll throw Wendy's in there.
I will. Oh, you got the snake draft.
Ed, come on, man. Snake draft.
Yeah, I wasn't the thing on the sheet says trash foods. Now we've added this car wrinkle to it. This is not a car food. Absolutely
Okay.
not.
That's fine.
Well, I guess it could be if you're really careful. A chicken parm sub. So I'll give you two locations. If you're in Northern Virginia, Santini's, and if you're in Blacksburg, the Cellar. Get chicken parm sub. Elite.
The
Dude,
Stellar?
that could not be more off base than what we're
How?
talking about.
A fried chicken cutlet on a piece of bread is definitely not healthy.
Dude, we're talking about like you're driving in Kansas and you can get this. We're not talking about you're going to the Cellar. Like
I
what?
just read you what the sheet says. It says trash foods. Does not add that there needs to be a
I have
drive-thru
never
restaurant.
gone to the Cellar and thought I'm about to have trash food. I think I'm about to get hammered on pitchers of beers and eat pretty decent food. That's what I think about.
I'm
It's
about to
good
clear them out.
food. It's not good for you.
I'm about to clear them out of their euros.
That's right.
Yeah, that's all about euros. Fine. If the drive-through is a requirement, I guess some of them have drive-throughs. Popeyes is slept on universally, in my opinion.
That is very factual.
See, that was a good answer. Your other one sucked.
I just saying the doc is lacking criteria.
Are you out here telling people their answers suck when you're the number one thing on your list is a double whopper?
Yeah, come on now.
I think you guys will like my last two picks. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, well, this is a snake draft, so you only have one. I guess since we're doing pylons plus the cenotaph, you do get a third pick. I am destined for greatness on a Saturday morning when I am hitting the Chick-fil-A. I think it's not exit 35. It's a little Concord chicken minis and some browns. You know, might get an iced coffee from Chick-fil-A. Like, come on, up to Blacksburg every time.
I'm gonna go with
commentary on Chick-fil-A. All right.
I mean, I told you this before we did it. I don't think Chick-fil-A is trash food. I think it's.
Please defend that take because
okay. You know how like
Mr. Anti-seed oils over there.
This is the same as mine. It's good food. It's still not good for you.
I just think you know how Subway says they're a sub above, which one is bullshit. I think they're a chicken above. I think like you can't put Chick-fil-A on the same pedestal as like McDonald's, Burger King, like KFC, Popeyes. I like to believe it's a little healthier. Maybe it's not. I'll defer to you.
It's the same.
I think the next pylons need to have a committee meeting with some clear defined guidelines. That's what I think.
I'm going to go with one of my road trip favorites. If I am filling up the tank and I go inside, I'm going to go ahead and get a cookies and cream Hershey's bar. They are elite cookies and cream Hershey's bar. And then this one is a shout out back to when I was in high school, in college. I haven't done it in a while. I actually think I'm going to do this week. I used to love showing up to parties with a Taco 12 pack and eating the whole thing by myself. When they brought out like that Taco 12 pack and they like marketed it as like, yo, bring it to the party and share it. My ass, dude. I am going to Taco Bell. I am getting the Taco 12 pack. I am getting soft tacos and I am eating the entire thing when I get there. So Taco 12 pack from I got to go Supreme too with the it's not cream cheese, sour cream.
That's quite the party trick from Billy Ray Mitchell.
Yeah, so that's my last pick. Is that everybody, or do we have one more?
Billy. Invite
that's
Billy.
Right. I will show up with tacos. You will get none of them. So let's move on to Sharky's shout-outs. I have a shout-out. I'll save the commentary. You know I have plenty. Shout out to Coach Buzz Williams, SEC Coach of the Year at Texas A&M. Bounced back, beat Alabama. SEC basketball has been a ton of fun to watch this year. I guess I'll have this kind of commentary. It's just a really odd year in basketball. What is left of the Big East is so non-competitive. It's just teams getting blown out left and right. The Big 12 is, in my opinion, far and away the best conference that there is. Big 10, Ed, I don't know what to make of that conference. I have no idea what's going to happen come March Madness. And then the SEC is starting to reap the rewards of pouring money into their basketball programs, and they will only continue to get better. So, and the ACC is kind of meh. So that's that.
I got a shout out for Virginia's own Mac McClung watching the dunk contest. They were saying he saved the dunk contest, and I think he did a great job out there, man. The Sixers got him on like a week-long contract or something.
I'm impressed, Pat. Look at you. I
mean, didn't the three of us watch it together? Weren't we all together watching it?
You brought it up. I don't know if we were watching it. You were doing that thing where you have your hand on your face and you're like nodding in and out of like sleepiness. So if you want to call that watching it together, maybe. But you were in the room and it was on the TV.
Gate City's own Mac's dad played football at Tech. Mac's mom probably pretty fired up. She played women's basketball. And of course it brought out the can't believe Buzz didn't offer Mac McClung, yada yada. It's like, all right, like why does our fan base love to just play this hindsight game of if only we did this and then this? It's like, all right, like what if Michael Vick chose Syracuse? Like things happen for a reason, man.
All I know is that when Coach Young retires, we need to hire Mac McClung as the new head coach of the Virginia Tech basketball program. And if we don't, we're dropping the ball. So everybody get your tweets ready at Whit Babcock or whoever the athletic director is, and hopefully 100 years when Coach Young hangs it up to let him know that we need to hire Mac McClung.
Hunter Couture will be the top of the list for the Twitter mob in terms of who to hire after Coach.
Justin Mutz needs to be the head coach of Virginia Tech.
Actually, I think I'm going to be part of that brigade.
I think I might be too.
Trying for Couture. It's actually going to be Kenny Brooks and Coach Couture. They're going to be 1A and 1B.
That would be
Coach
a fun.
Brooks, come coach the men's team.
That would be a fun dynamic. That would be one hell of a duo. Ed, do you have any shout-outs? I know you've been watching a lot of Nats baseball.
No, I'm going to stick with basketball too. And while you two are living in the past with Mac McClung and Buzz Williams, I'm going to look towards hopefully the future and Juke Harris. Shout out to Juke Harris. Huge target for the men's basketball program. He just finished his high school season. He's 4-star, number 46 player in the country. He's making his decision on March 24th. And his final teams are Miami, Virginia Tech, LSU, Kansas, Wake Forest, and Louisville. He was just player of the year in his conference, first team all district. So shout out to Juke Harris. Would love to see you in the maroon and orange come March 24th.
Or he could be our O-line coach. All right. That was a ton of fun, guys. We haven't done that in a while. We're going to go ahead and pass it over to Ed and Mike. They recorded a conversation about conference championships. Hey, I wouldn't have a problem with winning the ACC again. Who knows? Let's find out what the path looks like for Hokies men's basketball.
All right, everyone. We have reached the conclusion of the Virginia Tech men's basketball team regular season. So Mike and I are here to talk through that, the last two games against Louisville and Florida State, and kind of take a look ahead at the ACC tournament, which, in my opinion, Virginia Tech ended up with a pretty good draw. So maybe there'll be some more postseason magic from Mike Young's guys. But overall, the Virginia Tech men's team finished the year with 2 wins against Louisville and Florida State. Played really well in both games, concluding the regular season at 18-13 and 11th in the ACC. So obviously a pretty underwhelming overall record to finish the year with how things went in non-conference. But I thought they ended up the year playing really good ball in those last 2, obviously against pretty inferior opponents, some of the worst teams in the league, but won handedly in both those games. So hopefully things are trending in the right direction, and what could be a really cool week in Greensboro if everything falls the right way. So 18-13 to end of the year. But Mike, any thoughts from you on Louisville in particular?
I mean, you mentioned these are 2 inferior opponents. That hasn't stopped Virginia Tech from losing those games before this year, right? So it was really satisfying to see Tech kind of come together and play two of their better games in a while, kind of back to back to end the regular season. It's kind of bittersweet because the team really hasn't performed the way I think a lot of us expected them to for most of the year. But to kind of come together at the end of the year and start playing good basketball is promising because, you know, it's not likely, but there is a decent draw that the Hokies got in the ACC tournament where, you know, if the good version of Virginia Tech shows up, I think they can beat the teams in front of them. If the version that showed up all year, you know, ends up, you know, percolating in Greensboro, it's going to be probably a pretty swift exit, which, you know, I think a lot of us have been kind of bracing for, given how the team has performed basically since the start of conference play. But, you know, when Tech's playing at their best, when they're beating teams like UVA and Duke, when they kind of put things together and play a complete 40 minutes of basketball, you know, this team can be difficult to guard. They could be difficult to play against defensively. When they're playing well on both ends. It's just been really, really inconsistent this year. They're well coached most of the time. And, you know, sometimes they don't really look like they're very well coached. We all know that Mike Young can coach. That's not really the question. It's just whether or not it all comes together on a given night and it's consistent. So that's been the story for most of the year. And I think that's going to be the story down in Greensboro as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's been a high ceiling, low floor kind of team all year long. You never know who you're going to get on any given night. Against Louisville, like we said, they handled business on the road, which has been a huge problem for Virginia Tech all year. 171-54, just all around good game, low turnover numbers. Won the first half 35-27, won the second half 36-27. So consistent performance from start to finish. Got out of there with a win. And then they came home for the final game of the regular season in Castle, the last game in Castle for Justin Mutz, maybe the last game for Hunter Couture and Grant Basile. We're not really sure about those two yet, but it was senior day. Cool to see Justin Mutz was very into it at the beginning of the game. Got all jumping during Enter Sandman for, you know, his last time. It clearly meant a lot to him. And they were able to win that one 82-60, only 10 turnovers, shot 47% from three. And one part that I want to continue to talk about that we've talked about the past couple of weeks is Rodney Rice had his best game in a Virginia Tech uniform, albeit small sample size, but he had 10 points in 20 minutes. He's still not shooting the ball really well, but you can see how talented he is in the way he just kind of carries himself throughout the game. His ability to finish around the rim, finish around guys, through guys, something unique that I don't think we have a whole lot of on our team. Sean Padula can do it in bursts, but you can clearly see Rodney's talent is there. And I think it has positively impacted Sean Padula because Sean doesn't have to play the entire game. And you saw it perfectly in Florida State where Sean Padula finished with 25 points and 6 of 8 shooting. Just looked fresh, got to sit for an extended amount of time while Rodney Rice ran the point guard. So I think, you know, it's tough to look back on now, but having Rodney Rice throughout the year would have been really helpful. So it's a bummer, but it's also a positive looking forward that he's coming along in his development. Hopefully we can see some really good things from him down in Greensboro. But good win, pretty nothing going on there. Grant Basile did not participate in senior day. Take that for what you will, I guess. I don't really think it means a whole lot, but he did not participate in the senior day festivities with Justin Mutz and Hunter Couture. Obviously, Justin Mutz's eligibility has run out, and we will see on Hunter Couture. Hopefully he comes back. We'd love to see him come back and obliterate the three-point record for the career at Virginia Tech. But we'll see. I think that'll probably be something that takes place later in the offseason.
NIL.
Yeah, NIL.
If we're being honest. I mean, Hunter Couture has probably got some money waiting for him overseas, I would guess. He's going to be able to play professionally. It just kind of depends on what the money looks like, right? And, you know, I don't think – never say never, but I don't think Hunter Couture is an NBA player. But I do think he can be a professional elsewhere and have a really nice career. And, you know, it kind of really depends on what the money looks like. And to be honest with you, like if the NIL money there for him is good enough and he feels like he can continue to improve and put himself in better position to secure more money at the professional level a year from now, you know, maybe that's enough to keep him around Blacksburg another year. That's going to be a very much wait and see thing. And as we saw this offseason with Justin Mutz, like it took a while before we heard about that decision, right? I think, you know, rumors started flying around kind of right after the end of last season, but it really took a while to get an actual answer about whether or not Justin Mutz was going to return. So it's going, whenever Tech season ends, it's not going to be an instantaneous decision for Hunter Couture. It is going to take some time. There's multiple levels to it, right? There's the school aspect of it where, Hunter Couture is going to have to figure out what he wants to do from a graduate degree standpoint. Like, Justin Mutz had to figure out what other graduate degree he was going to get from Virginia Tech in order to continue to remain eligible as a student athlete and keep playing. It's kind of going to have to be the same thing here for Hunter Couture. It's going to be the same case. So there's a lot that goes into this, whether or not he wants to continue the school stuff to play college basketball, whether or not the money is there for him from an NIL standpoint, because he's done all he's needed to do at the collegiate level. He's gotten his degree already. He's accomplished a lot on and off the floor. Obviously, he was the reason why Virginia Tech won an ACC championship last year of what he did in the conference title game. So he's kind of been there and done that. And it's just going to be a matter of, do I want to kind of go through this again at the collegiate level? And there's going to be a lot that goes into that decision, and we're not going to know right away. I'd be shocked if we knew right away.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same conversation for Basile too.
Yep.
Grant's probably not an NBA player right now. Like if he came back, he'd probably be a first-team All-ACC preseason caliber guy, and could maybe elevate himself into that NBA draft talk conversation with another year in Blacksburg. But there's definitely money to be made for Grant Basile over in Europe or over in Australia or Asia or wherever he wants to go. He kind of finished the year on a heater. And Keve Aluma is doing well for himself over in Europe, making money right now. So I'd have to imagine there'll be very similar opportunities for Grant Basile. So, it's weighing all those things you talked about, academics, whether or not you still want to be in Blacksburg, Virginia, and then obviously the financial implications of NIL versus what you can make elsewhere. So big decisions for those two on the horizon that will dramatically impact, quite frankly, the ceiling of next year's team. And I would think that the staff would be in a position where they would like to have answers on those decisions earlier in the offseason than they did with Justin Mutz, because it allows you to attack the portal in a different way. So they waited pretty long for Mutz last year, deservedly so. He earned the right to do that and to go through the process and make his decision when it was best time for him. But I would assume that the coaching staff will be in a position, particularly with Grant Basile, where they're going to want to know quicker because they don't have a whole lot of options to backfill for Grant. Whereas, you've got Rodney Rice and you've got a couple guards coming in who could potentially lighten the load if Hunter Couture decides last minute to head out. But I would assume, at least on the big man front, they're going to want to have something in place pretty quickly. So keep an eye on those two guys. Would love to have them both back in Blacksburg, of course. Particularly for me personally, just as a fan, I would love to see Hunter Couture come back and break that 3-point record. Something he would do probably before ACC play, even next year. Yeah. At the rate that he's been shooting the ball, averages about 3 a game. He's not too far away from that record. So love to see him come back and cap off his career with that and then go at another run towards the NCAA tournament next year. Because if those guys both come back, the ceiling's pretty high for this team. But if not, there's a bit of a rebuild that needs to take place via the portal to supplement the guard play that we will have in Rice and Padula. So look forward to those decisions being made, hopefully sooner than later, but not going to count on it. I'm assuming it'll be pretty late into the offseason before those are wrapped up. So in conclusion, like I said, 18-13, 11th in the ACC, and that puts Virginia Tech in line to play Notre Dame Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the first round of the ACC tournament. So Notre Dame team we've beaten on the road, albeit we had to score 90 points to do so. I hope that the defense will be better down in Greensboro than it was in South Bend, but Notre Dame, obviously a team Virginia Tech has beaten, should beat, and I expect to beat on Tuesday night. If they're able to knock off the Irish and send Coach Bray packing in the first round, they will then play NC State, a team that Virginia Tech lost to, but barely, and did not play very well at all. So NC State, also a team that I think Virginia Tech could beat. I don't think they'll be favored in that game because NC State's really good with really talented players, but a team that Virginia Tech could absolutely beat. And then follow that up, if they're able to knock off NC State, they play Clemson in the third round, a Clemson team Virginia Tech has lost to twice this year. Again, both really, really bad performances shooting the ball from Virginia Tech in those games, and barely lost. So we're 0-3 against NC State and Clemson combined, but by a combined 8 points in those 3 losses. So two teams that I think Virginia Tech would love another crack at. Again, it's really tough to win 3 games in 3 days, 4-4, 5-5, the things that Virginia Tech would have to do to win the ACC again. But I do think that the path Virginia Tech found themselves in is one that is certainly doable. So I'm excited for the tournament. I hope it goes well. I hope I'm not completely disappointed Tuesday night, but I do like the path, and I think there is reason for some decent optimism from the fans.
I think that, I mean, it's funny because I remember you and I were doing the ACC preview before the year. You and I were both high on Notre Dame, just like we were high on the Hokies.
Yeah, they stink.
And Notre Dame's terrible, and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense given what they have on their team, the seniors and a 5-star freshman guard who's been pretty good this year, and they haven't been able to find it. It's just very mind-boggling, which is why Mike Bray's out of a job now. But yeah, I mean, Tech's got to get by Notre Dame. Hopefully it doesn't take the Hokies having to score 90 points to do it, like you just mentioned. That was kind of infuriating to watch a couple weeks back. Like, Tech just kind of screwed around for a while, and it really felt like they could lose that game. Like, Notre Dame would go on a run, then Tech would go on a run, and I was like, my God, man, like,
yeah,
this Notre Dame team is not very good. Like, let's put this game away. And it took a while. They eventually did. That's a winnable game, right? And then, you play NC State and Clemson, and it's kind of frustrating kind of looking at those two teams in particular, because if Tech goes 3-0 there, right, and they end the season at 21-10, they're probably in the field or at least like really like on the bubble, like actually on the bubble versus like outside of the bubble, which is, where Tech's got to go on a run and win the ACC to get into the tournament. That's really infuriating. Those are just like 3 of the losses that have really frustrated me this year. And then the 2 BC games, of course, as well. But yeah, I mean, these 2 teams are teams that Tech can beat. Tech played one of their worst games of the year against NC State. They shot it extremely poorly. Every time Tech went on a run, they couldn't get the stop on the other end. I remember that was a Saturday night game early in conference play. Hunter Couture was still out of the lineup. Defensively, Tech just couldn't get the stops they needed. Every time there was a scoring run, they just couldn't get the stop, right, in Blacksburg, and that was really frustrating. So NC State's got a really good and athletic team. If I had to guess, where Tech is going to bow out of this ACC tournament, I think it'll probably be on Wednesday against NC State. Like, that's my pick, right now, just kind of looking at it. I do think, though, if Tech gets by NC State, I do think they'll be able to go on a little bit of a run. Clemson has been playing terrible basketball really all throughout February. This is a Hokies team that can absolutely get Clemson. Should have beaten them at least once, maybe twice. But this is a really tough. It's a really tough spot to be in, where you got to win 5-5, and I think Tech is in a position where it's possible. It's not probable, but I think even if Tech were to win a few games this week, I think fans would be, obviously not satisfied with the outcome of the season, but would at least be satisfied with, the last 4 or 5 games that Tech has played, and, might get the Hokies into the NIT if they have a good showing in Greensboro this week, even if that means, not necessarily making a run at the title.
Yeah, I think there's reason for optimism. I actually agree with you. I think if they do get by NC State, they could definitely beat Clemson, and then it would be frustrating because then you've won 21 games and are still on the outside looking in. But that is what it is. It's what happens when you lose 7 in a row early in conference play. So looking forward to the tournament. I think Virginia Tech could go on a little run. I think they got as good of a draw as you could expect in a very, very weak ACC. So it's going to be a fun tournament. I hope it goes well for the Hokies. And I look to see, and I'm going to keep an eye on Rodney Rice, Sean Padula, all those guys, and see how they play. MJ Collins just continue to get better. So really excited to watch the young guys play. And, the final time we get to watch Justin Mutz. Hopefully it's not the last time we get to watch Hunter Couture at Grant Facility, but who knows. So enjoy it. It should be a really good tournament all in all. Who knows? It's one of those conferences where you could absolutely see a bid stealer like a Virginia Tech jump up there and take one away from everybody else in the conference who's also just not very good.
They kind of stole a bid last year. I mean, I know Tech was much more on the bubble, and there was conversation going into the title game as to whether or not, does Tech have to win the ACC championship to get in? We were kind of really up in the air with that. We thought they could get in just by making the championship game. So, they were kind of a bid stealer last year. They would absolutely be a bid stealer this year.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. I would love ACC champ sweep from the Hokies would be pretty cool. So that leads us into the end of our last little segment here. And we're not going to talk about it too in depth because Billy Ray and Pat are going to jump on and talk through the ACC champs, the Virginia Tech women's basketball team led by Coach Kenny Brooks. So we'll give the highlights here, and then those guys will, or maybe they already have. I don't know if our pod's going to run first or theirs is going to run first. Not sure how this is going to look, but in any event, Virginia Tech women's basketball team was able to win the ACC championship, something that we are somehow growing accustomed to in Blacksburg. But they handled Miami with no real issue, 68-42. Georgia had 16 points. Liz had 22 and 10, kind of what you would expect from Miami, even though they had already lost Miami early in the year.
Yep.
They were able to take care of business there. Then a 58-37 win over Duke. Georgia Amore had 24, hit 6 threes. That put her at 11 threes through 2 games. So going into the last game against Louisville, she needed 3 to break the record for most in the tournament. Keep in mind, this is coming from a girl who had a double bye and still broke the record for most threes in the tournament. So that's kind of a spoiler because Georgia had 25 in the championship game. They won 75-67 over a good Louisville team. Did a great job guarding Haley Van Lith. She did pretty much nothing for Louisville, one of the better players in the conference, and someone who Virginia Tech gave up 29 to by herself when they played in the regular season. So Hokies did a great job defensively throughout the tournament, 42, 37, and 67 points scored in the 3 games. That's really, really good defense and has been a huge catalyst as to why they find themselves currently as the number 4 ranked team in the country and a potential number 1 seed going into March Madness. So an amazing tournament all around. Like I said, really good team defense, amazing individual play from Georgia. She was the player of the tournament. That was kind of a no-brainer once the final buzzer sounded that she was going to win that award. But 16 in the first game for her, 24 in the second, 25 in the third. She was 10 of 10 from the free throw line in the Louisville game, which was a huge deal because we were in the bonus pretty early in both halves. So Georgia was phenomenal. Liz was phenomenal. Taylor Soule, Kayla King, Kiana Traylor, everybody was clicking on all cylinders, playing amazing defense, and happy for them, happy for Coach Brooks. It was a really fun tournament to watch, and I look forward to seeing what they're able to accomplish in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully as a number 1 seed. That'd be pretty amazing.
That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I think, going into the year, we all anticipated that the women's team would be really good. We anticipated that they would be top 10 or 12 team in the country all year. And I still, I had this take at the beginning of the year. I kind of maintained that this is the best opportunity I think that Tech women are going to have to get to a Final Four, in a while, and it's just not often where you have a combination of a really, really good point guard and an All-American caliber forward and Kitley. It's just not often you get that combo, and Tech's got it, and they're 2 of the better players in the conference, and all the role players are really, really good. And I just feel like this is a team that can absolutely make a run at a Final Four. It's pretty amazing to think that they could absolutely be the 4th number 1 seed. At worst, they're going to be probably the best number 2 seed, right? If they end up falling to the 2 line. So Kenny Brooks is just getting absolutely everything out of this team, right? He's squeezing every last bit out of the team. And I think that, Tech's got a really good opportunity to go on a run. And for all the disappointment on the men's side this year, the women's team is maybe even better than anticipated. So, it's kind of like polar opposites this year. So, hopefully a deeper run this year. I know they lost a tough 12-5 game last year. You don't need to worry about that, with this draw that you're going to have now.
Yeah.
So I do anticipate a deeper run here this year. You won't have quite as tough of a matchup in the first round, but definitely looking forward to seeing what they're able to do in the tournament.
Yeah, I completely agree. It feels a lot like the 2019 men's team, where it's a culmination of really, really good 3- and 4-year players who have developed under Coach Brooks, and in that case under Buzz, to get to where they are at, the peak of what this group can do. And obviously this group has a higher ceiling than that group did, being that they're going to probably be a number 1 seed. I think the Final Four is absolutely, the goal here. And I think this team is good enough to even win a national championship if shots fall when they need to. So it's been an awesome group to watch play. They're player of the year, regular season, player of the tournament in the postseason. The Queens of Castle are killing it, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm gonna go down to Blacksburg for the first round game at least. Hopefully both first and second round game. We'll see if I'm able to make that work. But I'm really excited. I hope Castle's full. It should be. I think it will be. Although it's on the back end of spring break, I believe. So hopefully the students get back to town in time to watch this team play on their home floor. and they were able to make a run and get to Dallas. And I would absolutely love to have an excuse to fly down to Dallas. So been awesome. And, Billy and Pat will talk about this more, but congratulations to the girls. It was a really fun run, and it's been really cool to watch confetti fall on a Virginia Tech team 2 years in a row now. So that's all I've got. We'll check back in at the conclusion of the ACC tournament. Maybe we'll be lifting another trophy with maroon and orange confetti in Greensboro, but we will touch back in regardless. And I think Virginia Tech could go on a little run here. So tune in Tuesday night at 7, and then hopefully we're watching basketball all night long or all week long this week.
Yeah, I hope so. Would be nice to see kind of the best version of Virginia Tech come together at the best time of year. And I think we've seen it against 2 inferior opponents here at the end of the regular season. It would be nice to see that continue and see if Tech can at least go on a little bit of a run here.
Yep, I'd love to watch Hokie basketball every day this week. So we'll see.
That'd be good. That'd be solid.
All right, Mike. Go Hokies. We'll see how it goes. That's all I got.
Yep, go Hokies.